Hey guys, welcome to the Girl Take No podcast. I am your host, Shani Sanders, and today I have a special guest with me. Her name is Darleen Priday, and she is the CEO of DP Consultants and Sales. She equips coaches and entrepreneurs with ways to sell authentically to your audience and how to build relationships. Welcome to the show, Darleen.
Thank you, Shani. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. This is going to be a really good show because, one, I think even as podcasters, we're in the selling business as well because we're trying to sell our show to get listeners to brands. And so we're all in that same business. And when you have a product or entrepreneur, like you said, have a product or a service, selling is everything. It's key to what you want to do, and to know how to do it best and know how to do it right and build those relationships with clients are important. And so before we get into any questions, let's get the story behind the brand. What made you get into this business? What made you start DP Consultants?
Sure. So I have been selling for most of my career in some way, shape, or form. I started in retail, went to wholesale. I was in the fashion industry. For the past 10 years, I've been in staffing for virtual assistants. And really, for the past 10 years, I've been dealing with a lot of entrepreneurs, small businesses that are scaling and have great products, great services, but we're really struggling on how to convey that and get more clients. So I saw a need in speaking to these people over and over again of the same theme. They didn't want to sell because it felt sleazy, it felt fake, it felt phony, and they didn't want to just give their brand a bad identity because they were coming across as salesy. So that's when I started DP Consults.
You know, that is so true when it comes to sales. It's like when you walk into, it's the whole car salesman kind of thing. You walk into the dealership, and here comes a sleazy salesman coming up to you trying to sell you a car by any means necessary. And I think that is like a major problem because even with my friends who are entrepreneurs, they have such a hard time selling because they look at it, like you said, they don't want to be pushy. You know, you think you're inundating people with emails consistently or either, posting ads and stuff like that. So how do you tell someone to get past that? Hey, you're not being sleazy. You're just trying to build something authentic, more so a relationship versus a sale. How do you get someone to get past that?
I think it's really the mind shift. So the problem out there, Shanti, is that there's a lot of sales coaches and programs that give you all these one size fits all, where you have to do X, Y, and Z, and then you're going to close. So when people don't close, they feel like they're failing. The reality is, if you reframe your conversations as a discovery versus a sales call, you are going to share how you can support those people, really actively listen to what they need, and build your credibility, because my is that if I'm not the right solution, I'm going to connect them with somebody who is. So that builds trust. It builds relationships. It makes referrals happen and all of those different things when people realize that you are for them and really want what's best for them. The worst thing we can do is, as consultants, is also get the wrong people in. If you can't serve them well, or they're not the right fit, they're not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what it is too. I know, especially for coaches, it's probably hard because you do have to have more so that one-on-one call with them versus if you have a product, you're really just trying to sell online, really push ads and stuff like that. And I know it's hard for coaches because I know sometimes when I speak to coaches and you can tell that, not all of them are always comfortable. And especially when it comes to, this is probably one of the biggest things I think people have a problem with is when it comes to conveying what their services cost. I think sometimes people struggle with that piece because I have a friend who feels like, once I tell them what the cost is, I feel like most people are kind of like, maybe don't want to do it, maybe sway from it. How do you deal with that piece of it, of trying to get your message across and let people know how much your services are and why these services would benefit them? Like, what's the best way to do that?
So I think really knowing your service and the value that you bring. If you convey your value, yes, there's going to be some people that cannot afford it. They don't have the budget or whatever it may be. I think more times than not, people lose those clients because they're not conveying how their service can really change them. I am not someone who puts fear in, like there's tactics to say like, oh, your life is going to fall apart if you don't have my service, or whatever it may be, and that's just, that I don't like those tactics. What I do like is when I really know I can help somebody, painting that picture of how I can help them, what their life would look like with the service. And that more times than not starts that mind shift within that person of, is this a value to invest in?
Yeah, that is a tactic that works better, to let them know why it's valuable to them and to build that, I guess it's like you said, that authentic connection.
Yes.
Versus the fear, the scare tactic, the scarcity type of tactic. So you're definitely right about that. Let me ask you this. Was entrepreneurship always a part of your goal, or is it something that kind of stumble into?
So I feel like I always had that entrepreneurial spirit from the time I was young. And I've done different things. Even when I was working full time, I always had a side type of gig going on, so to speak. And, that looked very differently throughout my career. Sometimes my daughter was in theater, and sometimes that was bartering. I would do somebody's marketing and she could get dance lessons and stuff like that, so I was pretty creative, but realistically, the past year is when I started focusing on the coaching business. I heard time and time again, you should be a coach, you should be a coach. And I really went into it kicking and screaming, because I'm like, everybody's a coach. So I was in that same mindset as other people were, where I didn't realize the value that I was bringing, because it was easy for me. This is something that's very natural for me. It's easy for me. And until I had strong women that were speaking into my life and really adjusted my mindset, was that I took that leap and then just started moving forward with it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love it when you just kind of the thing that it kind of always was with you, and then finally you recognize, okay, it's time for me to move forward full time with this. I mean, I love those type of things, because that's when you recognize your true passion, you know what I mean? And where you truly belong and where you can excel, not to say that people don't excel at their jobs, 9 to 5, we all do. But when you can have your passion like that truly works so much better. So how do you tell someone, because being that we're such a digital world now, everything is digital, everything is online. Some people don't like to be called, right? Some people don't want that call. Some people just kind of like want to do everything online. So how do you get someone to sell more in the digital age that we're in now versus saying, hey, you need to call and do stuff like that? How do you get them to do that?
Well, I think so tools and apps make selling easier.
Yeah.
Just the follow-up and different things like that. But unless you have a connection with someone, you're just an email. You're just somebody that has dropped into, LinkedIn, Messenger, or whatever it may be. So really what I would say is you have to make some kind of connection. I use Zoom all day long. Looking somebody in the eye, just like we're doing now, right? It's so much better than just having a phone call. It's so much better than sending an email. You're making that connection. Also, bring value every time you speak to your client, even if they're your prospect, let me say, even if they're not a client. Give them something that they can walk away with, regardless if they use you or not, because then they don't feel like they wasted their time. I don't like sales calls. I don't like people who are pushing and they just it's very self-serving. If you operate generously, speaking into their lives, giving them something that they can walk away with, that makes an impression on people, because while technology is great, people crave relationships. Yeah. They crave that one-on-one. And just what you're doing with the podcast, right? People want to be connected. People want to have people empathize and understand where they are coming from, as opposed to just being self-serving.
Yeah, that is true. We do crave, with social media now, everything is like, online. So it's like that one-on-one relationship. That's what I talk about with kids today. They're not necessarily, they're such a technology driven world, and they're all about their tablets that we have to force them to go outside and play. You know what I mean? Because they would much rather sit on the tablet. So you're right. We're becoming a world where we're so used to being so online and being having that digital connection versus a personal connection. And I think it's so important, especially for coaches, that you have to connect with people. But what I want to talk about? Let's talk about fear, because I know some people who are so afraid to be I tell people, hey, get on social media, do whatever you need to do a video, whatever. They're so afraid to just be on a video. How do you get them past that fear of actually doing this right now? We're looking at each other on screen, when they can sometimes get so nervous and be so afraid, and then maybe kind of fumble their words and not really, get the sell that they were looking for, and then feel defeated, like you said. How do you get past that?
I can empathize with that, because I hate being on video. I hate listening to my voice. I'm like, oh, my Jersey accent, and we could be so self-critical. So I
like your voice.
I absolutely can empathize with that piece of it. What I would say is, just again, fear is such a stumbling block for everyone, and it looks different in different people, and it shows up in sneaky ways. So I think, first of all, calling it out, right? Getting to what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of looking stupid? Are you afraid of sounding like an idiot? Get to what are you actually afraid of? And then realize we're all humans. I stumble over my words at times. I, have my mute button on, and I'm trying to talk, and I make a joke out of it. I'm like, I'm sorry, I need more coffee. I'm not functioning well today. I don't know why my mouth cannot say those words, just being really authentic, right? Hey, I'm a little nervous. I'm sorry. I promise you, I'm a great coach, but being on these one-on-ones are just not in my comfort zone, but let me try to stumble through it with you. I think people appreciate that, right?
I think so too. Yeah, I think we appreciate honesty and authenticity. It's not easy to sit in front of the camera and to talk to people, to do public speaking, because almost this is like public speaking, right? Yes. It's not easy for people to do that, and we're all going to fumble our words, but that's natural conversation. That's how I feel. I'm going to mess up some words sometimes. I am, and I will mess up somebody's name quickly if I don't know how to pronounce it. I tell people that all the time, please forgive me. But I think that works. How do you think, does every coach feel like they can coach every person? Or do you feel like, hey, you have to hone in on your particular avatar, your particular person that really connects with you? Because coaching has to be a very much so a two-person thing. You have to feel me and I have to feel you.
Yes. So that's a great point, because I have discovered with working with some coaches is that just because you're bringing value to somebody and you have something to offer doesn't mean they're your right client, right? That is two separate things. Everybody can learn from anyone, even, and glean something. But I think knowing what your niche is, really knowing who you can serve well is super important. Not trying to be everything to everyone, because that goes back to that authenticity. There's a lot of things I can do, but I don't like to do, or I don't do them well, and I think as you get older too, you can kind of own that stuff, and it just gets a little bit easier, because you're like, I'm too old for this crap. I don't want to do it, know? But I think when you're newer, you want to just serve everybody, build your business. But again, bringing in the right people that you're going to serve well and that you're going to connect with. One of those is worth 10 other frustrating engagements that are not going to be of value to both of you.
Yeah, that's true. So you're right. You just want to make sure that you're a fit for the right person. And I do like that person that'll say, hey, you know what? I might not be a fit, but maybe I can recommend somebody that is. And that's always valuable too.
Huge network of strategic partnerships. And I am the first person that, if I don't feel like, because sometimes people don't know what they need, right? Especially coaching. They may think they need sales, but they honestly need marketing or something else. So again, saying here, you know what? you're not ready for me, or this is not a good fit, but let me introduce you to somebody who may be. I think that goes a long way, and that goes back to people building trust for you, because if they are ready, or if they know somebody who needs you, they will refer you.
Yeah. What do you think? How do you think? Because coaching really kind of like, I think coaching probably always been around. It just hasn't been so mainstream where everybody is into it now. And the way I look at coaches as teachers for adults. You know what I mean? And a particular thing that you want to learn and grow in, because we are in a place where we can grow better and learn how to sell more and learn how to be more authentic. I mean, because there's coaching for almost anything. Why do you think it's so popular now? Like, everyone is looking to get a coach. Everyone is, I don't know, maybe everyone is more in tune with their own journey. What do you think it is? Why so
I don't
popular?
know exactly. I know that the environment is, you're right. There's a million coaches out there, and there's amazing coaches out there, which is fantastic. Again, I'm probably dating myself, but years ago, we didn't have coaches to be leaders. They just gave us people to work under.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of just stumbled our way through and did what we had to do, right or wrong. So while there's just ongoing education, as you mentioned, we're always learning. I'm constantly learning from other people, even people that are much younger than me, because there's a different perspective or something that they've gone through or something that they can bring to the table that is a unique way of thinking. The one thing I will say, though, where it gets confusing is back to, just because somebody's a great coach for someone else doesn't mean it's right for you. And to really, you know, I've worked with coaches who have been fantastic, and I've worked with others that it's not that there's something wrong with them. It just was not the right connection. So don't feel bad and don't force things. If it's not right for you, there's plenty of other people out there that can be. So find somebody that resonates with you and actually understands what your objectives are. Everybody has different whys. Not everybody wants to build a multi-million-dollar business, or not everybody has the same goal. So knowing, like, sharing what your why is and getting the right coach to get you there is critical.
Yeah, that is true. I think it's important to, you know, in coaching business, you know, the one-on-one relationship. How much access as a coach do you give a client to you? Because if it's not like you're a therapist, right? Because the therapist is like, I want to call them every little thing that happens. But how much access are you supposed to give a client when you are a coach?
So that's a great question.
Because I don't want to have to call you all day, because I might call you all day and be like, hey, I just did this, Darleen. Is this right? Or can you help me through this and that? So how much time do you give a person?
So I was very aware when I was establishing what my offerings were going to be about time. And I needed it to be where, because I can totally invest thousands of hours and make no money, right? Because I'm people. So my package is, I have it very concise because people want to move that needle. It's a 3-week kind of journey with a client to equip them. And by the end of the 3 weeks, they have deliverables and they are equipped to go sell. Then I do a 2-week follow-up to see, you know, where are those types of things, because coaching is two-sided. I can give all the best advice. If they're not implementing it, it's not going to go anywhere. But I did recognize that there is a need for additional support at times. So I have what's called rapid fire coaching, where somebody could retain me for 3 months after we do that program, and they could message me all day long if they want to. They don't have the time to do it. They don't. But it is something where we use Voxer, and they could just download, hey, I just got off this call, or let me send you this call. It went awry. What did I do wrong? I did everything that I thought we were supposed to do. That just helps them, kind of reinforces what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, until they really get comfortable doing it themselves. So it's going to look different for every person and every coach.
Yeah, definitely. What is a discovery call? You know, I hear a lot of people say, we're going to do a discovery call. What is the discovery call? Like, what do you discover through the call?
So, like I said, like if you reframe it from sales call to discovery call, where you're discovering what does this person actually need, and the person is discovering what you can offer them. So it's two-way, it's relational, it's a two-way street. It's not just sales. Sales has the connotation of, I'm going to tell you what I have, you're going to buy it or not.
Yeah.
As opposed to actively listening and understanding. And why I say it's discovery call, and I didn't make up that term, a lot of people use it, is because you're also, the person that's on that call is typically discovering what they need through the questions. Because most people, they think, okay, Susie had a sales coach, that's what I need. Excuse me. Or I need a mindset coach or whatever it may be. But until you start going back and forth and helping that person understand what they need, that's where the discovery comes in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're right. You discover the person discovers if they need the coach.
Yeah.
And then the coach kind of discovers more about the person if they're a good fit.
Yes.
So that definitely makes sense. Let me ask you this. What's probably the hardest part about being a coach? What are some of the struggles that you run into being in this, maybe starting this business and then working with clients? Maybe it's two parts to that question.
So for me, I like to help everybody. So, I struggle if I'm not the right one, if I can, I'll spend a lot of time trying to find that solution for them, even if they're not using me. And I have not had this personally, the people that I work with, because again, I handpick who I'm working with. So it's been really wonderful, the people that I've worked with. But I have seen in the past coaches for teams or CEOs, and they don't implement. They want a quick fix. They don't want to implement what you're telling them to do. Because again, a coach is only as good as what someone is implementing and how they're doing it.
Exactly.
Right? It's like going to Weight Watchers and then just eating ice cream and being like, Weight Watchers.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. You didn't follow the plan.
Exactly. So I think it's important for somebody who does reach out to have a coach to have that resolve that they are really going to take ownership over their area and implement what that coaching is. Because what is that? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So if you want different results, you have to be teachable, you have to be humble, and you have to make changes.
Okay. So what are some of how do you get a person to become a better salesperson? How do they become better at it? Is it a daily practice? Is it something that they can do one time, but boom, I got it? So what do you think? What is it to help them become better? How did that happen?
So there are strategies and there's techniques that I teach them that they could start implementing. It's not going to be, some people are have that aha moment and everything clicks. More times than not, it just takes some practice. But if they keep going back to those tangible things that they can follow, it becomes more natural. As we mentioned earlier, right? When you first started your podcast, there were probably things that you saw improve, that you needed to improve or that worked better. So I think if they're going into each call as a learning experience and just getting better and better, it will become natural. It will become more authentic, and having those cheat sheets and having that mind and practice, right?
Yeah, practice
with practice selling to your kids, to your husband, and just going through, because the more and more you tell your story, the easier it becomes. So once they become comfortable with telling their story, then they move out of that mindset of the sales call as opposed to just having that conversation.
Having a conversation. Yeah, that's what's important. What is one of the best ways for people to get clients, I guess, coaches to even get clients? Do you say, hey, try to do, because, a lot of people do those sales funnels, right? Online, people really push those a lot and then push you over to a course that you can take. Do you have any recommendations for people to get clients, or is it more so referral based?
So I think it depends on what type of coach you are, and definitely doing webinars, lunch and learns, giving value to people. They start to see, okay, like these podcasts, right? They hear it and be like, oh, that's exactly what I need. So giving value to people and letting them know a little bit about you makes you more familiar to them. I don't personally do sales funnels and all of that type of thing as far as lead gen, and mine is more referral based. I do a ton of networking, and now after COVID, we have so many virtual networking opportunities that are just incredible. So again, not getting on there to just push what you do, but just to make those right connections, make those strategic partners, referring people to other people. They're more likely to, if they have someone, refer back to you. So I build relationships all day long, and that it's more rewarding, and I'm also getting the right people in as well.
Yeah, I think because of COVID, a lot of people relied on online lead generation and webinars and stuff like that, because there was that in-person connection and networking was kind of taken away from everyone. And so I think I see why a lot of people do that. But like I said, I think it's so much better when, as a customer, like I used to work and I used to be over ratings and reviews, customers. And what I used to tell people is that we listen to other customers. Like a referral from a friend is way more to me than whatever sales ad you may put out there.
Yeah.
So referral base is like huge, because not only does the person who refer you already have a relationship, is that you can trust that person's judgment and say, hey, you know what? That's what I'm going to do, because that's how I buy products. I buy products based off customer ratings and reviews and based off referrals from friends that tell me, hey, this is a great product, you should try to use it. And so I like the more so the referral base versus just this ad that's coming at me, this webinar and stuff like that. So I like the way you actually try to get your clients. I like more so referral based and the networking, like you said. I think that works.
Yes. I find it very gratifying too, because again, even if I'm having those conversations of a friend or a client, even if they're not moving forward, they really are. They're a great call. They're somebody that I could potentially work with in the future, or I can pass off to my network. So they come in ready. Yeah. They come in ready they're hungry for what you are coaching.
And I think because more and more people are moving over into entrepreneurship, and I think the demand for coaches to help guide people through those selling process, through marketing processes and stuff like that, I think it just works so much because of the high demand of being into entrepreneurship now. Everyone wants to, have something of their own. They can leave a legacy and create generational wealth behind. And this is the kind of stuff that does that.
Yeah, we're in such an exciting time. Like, it is so like, with the world being so small, that I've had conversations with somebody in Ireland last week, and and it's just like the world is tiny now, and as mentioned, like a lot of people are like, hey, I can do that. Even if it's not their full-time job, they have some kind of, people understand. Gone are the days you work for one company for 50 years and then you get a pension. That does not exist anymore.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Multiple streams of income, and able to be creative in what you're offering and not be set on one thing, because even if you do it well, you have to actively listen and see, is my client changing? Does my offering need to change?
Oh yeah, definitely the offering. How do you balance it all? Because if you think about like a mom, even if you think about a 2-parent household, you got children, you got family, you got work, you got to cook dinner, you got to clean the clothes, you got to take care of the kids. How do you balance coaching business and life? How do you balance it all?
It is tough, and I'm probably not the best guest to ask. I'm the director of business development for Peachtree VA, which is my full-time job, and I have coaching. And unfortunately, in the past couple of years, my husband had a lot of health issues, and he unfortunately is disabled. So everything is on me. So what I have to do is, boundaries, which, is so important, is to not to say I'm only going to work 9 to 5, but know what your working style is. And this way you can put things down and be present with your family and everything like that. I'm a huge proponent of outsourcing and delegation, because even though I have a glitch in my mind that thinks, how hard could that be about everything in life? Everything, right? Yeah. And then I'm knee deep into something that is not in my wheelhouse. Could I do it? Yes. Is there somebody else that could do it better, probably cheaper and everything else? Yes. So I really had to do a mental shift to start outsourcing things and not just do everything myself, because that's where, it's not just a frustration, and it's an energy suck. So
it is.
Energy for what you really want to do and how you can show up really well is important.
Yeah, that is so true. Even with my podcast, I had to realize that I don't have to do everything, because I'm in that mindset too, where, I can do that, because there's a lot of things that I can do. And I'm just like, well, I don't have to do every piece of it. I can get someone else to do certain pieces, delegate out, hire other people to do certain things. And then that way I can actually focus on the interviews versus all the marketing, all the creatives. And it can be energy suck, and it can be overwhelming. It's to the point where you feel like, okay.
The entrepreneur mind is, but it's a double-edged sword, because yes, you can do everything. You build the business, you can, but you have to start looking at things as, where is my time and energy better spent? And start getting off those other things and allowing yourself to get the help you need.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Let's talk about empathetic selling. What is empathetic selling?
So, empathetic selling is really putting yourself in that person's shoes and understanding what they need. Because as I mentioned, a lot of my clients are not even exactly sure of what they need. So some people are looking at overcoming objections and just getting their information to that person. Really just actively listening, understanding, where is this person coming from, and back to that why, right? What are their goals?
Yeah.
Are they looking, to sell 10 more clients a month? Are they looking to get one quality client a month? Are they looking to build, a huge company, or are they looking just to sustain what they have? So really understanding and empathizing with that person. Like, if I was that person, what would I want to hear from the person on the other side? And that is, I use the term like empathetic closer, and I had a couple of people say, that's like an oxymoron, and I'm like, well, I built a career on it, really, without even knowing, because that's what I do.
Yeah.
I really care about the people I talk to, and I always have been, even in retail. I would never want to just sell something just for the sake of getting a sale. I want to really help people. That's really the core of who I am.
Yeah. And a lot of people lack empathy. A lot of people do. A lot of people lack it. And when you talk about it in sales, it is a great quality to have, because you have to be able to understand, especially if you take on someone, you have to be able to understand their story. You have to be able to empathize with, their time and what they need to do and why they need a coach. And so I think it's important to have some type of empathy, when it comes to working with someone one-on-one, because we are humans and we have emotions, and sometimes our emotions get the best of us, even with us, and let us slack on our business, and, maybe we won't sell great because we're not feeling so confident. And so let's talk about confidence, because I know confidence has to be a big part of selling. Right? You have to be, one, confident in what you're offering. You want to be confident in how you're speaking, so how do you deal with someone who might not have such a strong or a big confidence in themselves?
So I think what's important to understand is that everybody has those fears and that lack of confidence at different times. It also, lack of confidence looks very different in people. So it's
Yeah.
easy when you don't feel confident in something to recognize it, to beat yourself up about it, or whatever it may be. But I can guarantee there are every single successful person has that Achilles heel where they don't feel confident in an area or something like that. So I think recognizing it, again, back to, we all have stories, we're all human, and knowing your worth is important, because when you know what value you bring, that makes it easy to share and convey that value and be confident in what you're offering. I think also people attach a good sales call with, are they signing on? So it is easy that if you have 10 calls in a row and you're not signing on a client, to feel like you're a bad salesperson. But back to the mindset, if you're looking at it like, okay, maybe there's things that you can improve, but maybe those 10 people were not the right clients for you. And really looking at it like, did I convey my worth? Did I create a positive impact on this person I spoke to? Did I give them some kind of value? And did I build some part of a relationship? That is a win. The outcome, the sale, is not really the win. If you're doing those things within each call, eventually you are going to get the right people in there. So I think it's just a matter of reframing what success looks like, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you said something that's important. It's the mindset, because you can feel defeated if you did those calls and feel like, okay, nobody signed on, because a lot of people think that the end result is, I want people to sign. I want people to come on board. I want people to sign on the dotted line. So you go through all this and then nobody signs and you feel defeated. You know what I mean? You don't make a sale.
Yes. And listen, we've all been there, and I wish I could say like, oh, I never feel that way. Of course, who doesn't want to get the right clients? And like, that's exciting. But also in sales too, it's also just a double-edged sword, because no matter how many clients you get, there's always I tend to set that bar higher and higher at times. So I really have to look at it like, what is manageable for me? How many people can I serve that I'm going to serve well? And if I'm at my max and they can't wait, again, passing them off to someone else, because that's when you are your product, it is easy to overcommit, and then your coaching is impacted.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. How do you tell someone to define their ideal client?
Yeah. So, I mean, it starts with, again, knowing what you're offering back and forth.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds silly, but especially with so many entrepreneurs, if I have to ask you 30 questions to understand what you do, you're not clear. Clarity is so important, right?
Yeah.
Also, so messaging, what are they, what are they offering, and who is your ideal client? So that starts with who's going to be best served by you, who is going to really benefit from what you're offering, what does that person look like, what does, their financial commitment look like, and all of those different moving parts. Not to say there's some people that surprise me that I may not think is my ideal client, but then after that discovery call, they're a perfect fit for me. But I think it has to be knowing what your message is, and that has to be clear first and foremost. And then you move forward to say, this is who I would best serve.
Yeah. As a coach, do you in turn, this is just my mind wondering this question, do you in turn now have to believe in what the person is selling or their product or service? Do you have to believe in it, or do I necessarily only have to believe in you to help you sell what you're offering?
So technically, I only have to believe in you. But that being said, the reason why I started this business is because I want to help people that I believe in their services. I do not want to be successful by helping people that are really do not have a great offering or something that I can stand behind succeed. That is just not how I operate. So I'm very intentional with the people that I work with, because and again, I can give them some advice, and maybe they're not quite there yet or whatever it may be. And I'm not saying I know everything, but if I don't feel good about that relationship, I'm not going to move forward, because it is a relationship. So I want to believe in what they do. I love to champion for people. I love an underdog. There is nothing more gratifying than having somebody that really just needs that little help, and then they, you can see them come into their own. That's so gratifying. So I want to do that for people that I really believe in.
Yeah. As a coach, you have to be a people person, I believe, right? Like, you have to like people. I don't know if there's a coach that feel like, oh, I can't stand people. I don't want to be bothered. I can help you do this, but I don't necessarily want to be around you guys. You have to be a people person, right?
Well, exactly. Because people are putting their trust in you, and they want to feel like you are their champion too. I think there's people that are super talented in every aspect of life that could do a job.
Yeah.
But apathy is one of the worst qualities, I think, in a human. Somebody who could do it, but they're apathetic. I mean, who wants somebody to be like, okay, well, here you go, Shanti. Here's things to sell, and I know you could do it. Like, you want somebody excited about your win and really getting you there. So definitely caring about people is important.
You do. You want someone who can be excited about what you're doing just as much as you are, because that does help in building a relationship, and that helps with having an authentic connection.
Yes.
What you talked about, that's truly what that is. When you feel like, oh, I believe in your product too, I think it's great, then that kind of goes a long way versus someone who says, I'm just here to help you sell the product versus anything else.
Yes. Yeah. It's relational versus transactional. Nobody wants to just
Exactly. So let's talk about your potential clients. How do you help someone bring value to their potential clients?
So my approach is I do like a business analysis of everything, because I don't feel selling is just selling, right? Anybody who says, oh, sales, I look at everything from their website to their social media to understanding, what their offer is and everything like that to really get a big picture. And then what I do is tell them the strengths that I see, the weaknesses that I see, the opportunities that I see, just across the board. Because again, I'm not going to do a new website for them, but I can give them somebody who can do a fantastic website. If what they're telling me doesn't match what their website looks like, those things have to change before you start selling, right? And then, there's, as you mentioned, as we talked about, there's a million coaches out there, but what makes them unique? Even if it's the same exact type of coach, same offering, whatever it may be, why would somebody want to come to you? What sets you apart? Everybody has those intrinsic values that are different from other people. So recognizing what those are and being able to convey that to a potential client is really empowering. And it also is empowering for the client, because then they can see, okay, this is the person I want on my team.
How important, I guess, is selling for a coach or just any business? How important is it to your business to make sure that you have a good strategy, a good sales strategy? Like, how important is that?
So it's super critical to growth. So many coaches start out with referrals and different things like that, which is fantastic. That's what I do, and that I like to keep it, contained like that. But again, you can have somebody who's looking for your type of service, but if you're not conveying your message, you're not getting in the right people. So sales is critical, but there's also key things that can be done with follow-up, with nurturing, different things like that, that your typical coach does not do, because they have that call. If it's not right for them right now, that's it. That's the end of it. I think there was a statistic that 70% of people do not follow up, and because they feel like, oh, they told me no, but it's not a matter of being a bother or, pestering somebody. People are busy. Timing is everything. If it's not right now, you want to be on that forefront that when they do need a coach, you're in their mind and you have connected with them over time.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question, like how important is follow-up? Because follow-up, people might feel like, okay, I feel like I'm harassing. So what is like, without giving away your whole strategy and what you offer your clients, what do you tell people about follow-up? Or how often do you tell someone to follow up with someone who maybe said no, or maybe not interested at the time, or just someone who said, well, maybe later? How often do you tell them to follow up?
So I think so this comes into having more and more calls and really understanding the underlying of why they're saying no, right? Because as you know, when people say no, I don't have the budget for that. Is it the budget? Is that just an excuse? So really understanding that. And then what I do for the client, it just depends on the service. It depends on, is built kind of like a tree of, if you have the call and they say this is where you go. And then it has to be, you have to really take their cue. So if somebody's like, oh, call me next week, and, then they're busy, then they're putting you off, understanding like, hey, is this not the right time? Let's revisit it next month. Like, let them off the hook. You don't want to just drop the ball and not follow up, but you also don't want to just become obsessively like pestering somebody. Yeah. So really, if they say this is where I put them in. If they say, no, it's not for me, do you mind if I touch base with you Q2 just to see how where you're at? Or is this something that you could see when your budget turns around? Or, a lot of small businesses are 2 or 3 clients away themselves from being able to afford your services. So it's just a matter of building those relationships, having a cadence that makes sense and is respectful, but also informative.
Yeah. A part of your service, do you also help people price their services as well? Because, like you said, know your worth and know what your time is worth is super important. And I know sometimes people might have a little difficulty pricing their packages. Is there a strategy that you help them with, or a formula that you help them with when it comes to pricing their packages?
I do not do that piece of it.
Okay.
You have many connections of coaches that just do that. In fact, my friend Michelle Denayo, she helped me formulate the package because I was that person. Like, I'm not sure like what to do. And, all of the coaches need coaches, right? So there are services out there that will take a look at everything and understand, here are the packages you need to do. Here's the pricing. This is what makes sense. So, I can give some feedback, but I don't do that pricing structure piece of it.
Okay.
Typically, the people that I'm working with already have a solid offering. They've had success. They just have only built on people say yes or no. And they, they need that sales piece of it to continue to get the right people in and build those systems in place for follow-up, referrals, nurturing, all of those things.
What do you say about group coaching? Do you do group coaching, or is it just one-on-one coaching? And which one do you prefer?
So I haven't done group coaching yet. I'm in a mastermind, and I think group coaching is wonderful. For me right now, I think because everybody's so unique and it's so personal, I think they need that one-on-one to really get that confidence. Now, I may in the future have group coaching after they've gone through that initial one-on-one program, just to kind of keep that, energy up and that type of thing. But for my services, I think the one-on-one is important. but I can see
Yeah.
how group coaching can apply to some other types of coaching.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people do group coaching, and then from group coaching, they venture off into membership, because then they like, hey, let's extend our relationship, and then come into my membership and get all these different, videos and lives and stuff like that. So, which I still think all works, because it's still part of the journey of being authentic and staying connected to your customers.
Absolutely. And people crave, like for me, I am an information junkie. I am constantly taking webinars and courses and working with coaches, because I feel like, again, everything is changing so quickly within the landscape of business in general that you have to stay up on it. And the only way of doing that is leaning on people that know a lot more in those areas.
Yeah. So, we're going to get ready. We're going to end the show, but what do you want people to know about DP Consulting and sale and coaching? What do you want the audience to know about it?
Well, that it is a passion project. It is something that was born, like I reluctantly became a coach because I was like, there's so many coaches out there, but that I really care about my clients, and I really help them get over where their stumbling blocks are, so that they can help more people, they can reach more people, and really feel good about those conversations that they're having. Because when you have a great discovery call, there's joy in that. And like I said, if you're not attaching it to the outcome, I've been successful in sales, the outcome comes, right? Like that is going to happen. But if you can approach every sales call with joy and connections, that makes all the difference. It makes the day so much more enjoyable and takes the pressure off of you.
Well, I can tell you from this conversation, I can tell you are an empathetic person, and you are a warm, like you get a lot of warmth from you, the way you talk. And so I can definitely tell that you are a great one-on-one coach, because some people you can talk to and you feel like, okay, maybe I'll talk to them sometimes, but not all the time. But you just have the type of energy that says, okay, you can talk to this person every day, you know what I mean? And get information you need because of just certain words that you said in terms of joy, because joy is so important in being more authentic in the connection and the fact that you value that one-on-one relationship. So I think that's really awesome about you, Darleen.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you for coming on the show. Before we end the show, is the question I ask all my guests is, what was some of the best advice, or maybe just one advice that you've gotten from another woman?
I think like laugh at yourself, just like.
Exactly.
I think like when I was younger, I was so like, I wanted to just be this person that looks perfect on the outside. Now I'm to the point where I'm like, you just have to laugh and celebrate when things don't go right at times, or if you make a mistake. I've just spent too many years of my life being so hard on myself that just kind of embrace the failures, the flubs, and everything like that, and have fun with it. Like, again, it just makes it a lot more joyful.
It does. It does. I like that. Embrace it. Just embrace it. Life gets messy, right? It's not perfect. So it's okay. We don't have to be these perfect beings and have this perfect way of talking or doing something. So I appreciate you for coming on the show. I know my listeners and watchers of YouTube are going to get a lot of value out of this conversation, this episode. I am Shani Sanders. This is the Girl Techno Podcast, and we will see you next time.